Have you forgotten the face of your father? I hope not, gunslingers, because as many of you have pointed out in our previous video, of course the king of horror himself has such a wide array of horrifying and all-powerful fictional creations that we couldn't ever fully justify a list without at least doing a part 2. And you know what? It was absolutely awesome to see so many of you guys declaring your love for Stephen King's fictional work in the last video. So on that point alone, it's about damn time that we do a part 2. Hello horror fans, what's going on, and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, top 5 scary videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today I invite you all once again to join my quartet and take a look at the top 5 scariest Stephen King characters, part 2. Roll the clip.
I put 2 bullets in my gun. One for you and one for me. Oh darling, it'll be so beautiful.
For the curious amongst you, that clip was from 1990's Misery, starring Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes, who made the grade on the first part of our list, and she's popping up again because she's absolutely terrifying, isn't she? But there is someone else that King penned in the same vein as this fanatical psychopath. Kicking off at number 5, Margaret White, Carrie.
And God made Eve from the rib of Adam, and Eve was weak and loosed the raven on the world, and the raven was called Sin. Dead.
Because although we also covered Mrs. Carmody from The Mist in our first video, no one does terrifying zealotry quite like Mrs. Margaret White, the mother of the titular Carrie, and a woman so entrenched in her own obsession with sin that in Stephen King's world, Carrie's own mother becomes her most horrifying adversary. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that although both novel and film versions of Mrs. White are equally scary, Piper Laurie's performance of Mrs. White in the 1976 cinematic adaptation added so much to the fear of a mother lost to madness that it's worthy of separating the two. Appearing in King's 1974 debut novel Carrie, Mrs. White is instrumental in forcing her telekinetic daughter into a life of misery and emotional abuse as Mrs. White battles with her own ideology of judgment and punishment inflicted on her after years and years of being in an abusive relationship. I'm not going to lie, the events of Carrie cover some pretty heavy themes, often personified by Mrs. White herself, but what King manages to perfectly capture in his debut novel is that despite the supernatural, despite the corporeal, sometimes the true meaning of fear is left waiting at home. Swinging in at number 4, Kurt Barlow, Salem's Lot. For some of you, that scene in Tobe Hooper's 1979 TV miniseries may have been one of your more terrifying brushes with King's work, and that reaction alone, the body freezing in complete and utter moral horror at the sight of a type 1 vampire in a prison cell, is exactly what we all want from a vampire movie, right? Right, because that's what Kurt Barlow is meant to represent, an all-consuming evil that humanity can only hope to hide from, or build up enough courage to stake him through the heart. From a personal perspective, Salem's Lot, written by King in 1975, was the first time that a horror novel ever made me actually terrified to turn the page, and it was because of the ever-encroaching dread of Kurt Barlow's character. Also, Ralphie Glick. It takes a while to get going, but during the events of the novel, Barlow arrived in the town of Jerusalem's Lot in a large sealed box by his familiar and assistant Richard Straker, posing as an antiques dealer while also kidnapping the local children of the town in a human sacrifice appeasement ritual for his vampire master. Although I think it's accepted to appreciate both the novel and 1979 miniseries versions of Barlow, in the show he took on a much more Nosferatu-esque appearance, resembling a horribly disfigured mutant-like creature with snarling teeth. Also, telekinesis, as if vampires aren't terrifying enough already. Thanks, Stephen King. Next up at number 3, Donald Elbert, The Stand. And for those of you that have already seen the cheese-ridden pseudo-90s classic of a TV series, then this guy will be a bit of a curveball in your horror repertoire, to say the least. Donald Elbert, also known as the Trash Can Man, is somewhat of an enigma when it comes to horror fiction, because with this guy, King plays on one of our most exploitable emotions, empathy. The overarching themes that the Trash Can Man embodies are why King is so masterful in his horror fiction, because what we have in essence is a man who is so fanatical in his urge to burn things, who inevitably literally detonates a nuclear weapon and kills everyone and everything, yet we still feel sorry for this guy. Kind of. all throughout his life, Donald Elbert was at the beck and call of powers outside of his control, manifested and personified in his schizophrenic pyromania. As a child, Donald's father killed his eldest 3 children after getting into an argument at a bar and killing the bartender, although Donald's mother managed to flee the house with then 5-year-old Donnie. For the rest of his life, he would descend into an all-burning madness and social isolation, that is, until the events of The Stand, where he meets the all-evil Man in Black himself, Randall Flagg, and old Walter O'Dim realizes that his friend in need is a friend indeed to help him rule the wasteland. Donald Elbert is so damn scary as the Trash Man because he's a man that has literally nothing to lose, and he's a man that's willing to burn it all to the ground. Coming in at number 2, The Overlook Hotel, The Shining.
No charge, dear Mr. Torrance. No charge? Your money's no good here.
And I know that many of you guys wanted to see the Overlook Hotel make this list, and I'm more than happy to oblige because much like with Blaine the Mono, King has an uncanny knack for turning inanimate objects and structures into some terrifying horror villains in their own right. So much so that it's been referenced several times in King's work: Misery, the spiritual sequel Doctor Sleep, the Castle Rock TV series, and of course its crowning performance in the 1977 novel The Shining. As the events of the novel gradually allude to, the Overlook Hotel, a grandiose residence out in the Rocky Mountains, was actually the historical site of many ancient atrocities, including suicides, gangland murders, and a bizarre series of suspicious changes in ownership. Despite that though, the building managed to maintain its grand decor and sumptuous grounds, but of course there's a little more to it, and it's because the Overlook Hotel and the ghosts that inhabit it have become an entity in and of themselves, and as Jack Torrance finds out, it's ravenous for a fresh new soul. The machinations of the Overlook Hotel are later built on in King's 2013 sequel to The Shining, Doctor Sleep, and in some bizarre twist of fate, it kind of redeems itself. It's still terrifying though, and a stark warning to be careful of taking a caretaker job that seems too good to be true. Because it probably is, and it's a house full of ghosts. And finally, our number 1 spot, The Crimson King. And unfortunately, there isn't a cinematic clip to accompany this point because there is yet to be a worthy silver screen interpretation of perhaps King's most all-consuming and all-powerful evil entity, the Crimson King, and that's because it would kind of be impossible to correctly capture the shapeless form of the most powerful entity in King's multiverse. Also known as Lost the Red, Ram Abala, Lord of the Spiders, and the Kingfish, this guy is the puppet master and main antagonist of the Dark Tower series. Although the Man in Black comes a close second, he answers to this guy. We're in some pretty thematic territory here, but the Crimson King is only ever alluded to in King's fictional mythos as an ever-changing and shapeless entity, and his appearance is as the orchestrator of the chaos and decay that occurs in the Keystone world, and much of that in all the other worlds connected by the Dark Tower. His ultimate goal is to tear down the Dark Tower itself, bring about Discordia, which is essentially the scrambled egg version of existence, and then remake the universe in his own image. Although Randall Flagg is the big bad evil in many of King's fictional works, he does serve one guy, and it's this guy. The Crimson King, Leroy Roos, pretty much King Satan himself. If that doesn't get you, he's also a were-spider, so nah. I'm good, thanks. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scary Stephen King characters, part 2. Why don't you let us know your choices in the comment section down below, and who knows, maybe we'll even try out for a part 3. Before we depart though, let's do what we do best and read out some of your more entertaining remarks from over the past few days. First up, Michael Gustafson says, Walter O'Dim, so now I understand where CD Projekt Red got the name for Gaunter O'Dim, Witcher 3 expansion Heart of Stone. And yes, Michael, Witcher 3 all day, every day, best damn game ever day. Nice little observation, and I'm pretty sure the studio themselves actually confirmed that Gaunter O'Dim was a direct reference to King's work. Now that's a crossover. Next up, Boa Boy says, I'm pretty sure Mr. Barlow is way scarier than Annie Wilkes if you met him in person, that is all. I don't know about that, Boa Boy. I think I'd rather take my chances with a type 1 vampire than a cock-a-doodie Annie Wilkes. No thank you. Well, on that note, horror fans, just sticking around all the way until the end. If you're a fan of this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, please, you take it easy.